Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Benchwire. We got a new podcast with my paisan, Justin Yadzilla. How we doing, Justin?
Wonderful, Steve. It's Super Bowl week. We're in
Yes.
Vegas. Media week going on there. It's fun. It's a lot of content coming out. More content to be coming out this week from there. Maybe we'll post more. We'll be active on the reels more so this week with all this stuff going on in
Ooh,
Vegas.
we
The media
will.
week, biggest week of the sports world. Yeah, I'm proclaiming it right now. We will be doing things.
A
So
reel a
stay
day.
tuned to our socials and yeah, let's chop it up. Last time we talked, right? A couple more hires have been made, and some other coordinator positions got filled for some teams. And yeah, we got a couple other topics to get into. So I'm looking forward to getting into it with you.
Me too, man. Me too. So let's talk about some of them head coaches that got hired, right? So Mike
Let's do
McDonald
it.
was just announced as the official head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. He's taking over for Pete Carroll. Right off the bat, I like the hire as a young defensive-minded guy. They got a nice little defense there in Seattle. Hopefully he can, bring his expertise there and make them young fellas ball out. I think he can. What he did with the Ravens defense this year was special. They were the best defense in the league. They couldn't go all the way to the Super Bowl, but hey, first year under him, Mike McDonald with the Ravens, they were pretty darn good. And he's only like 36 years old, and he's the youngest coach in the NFL now as a head coach. So I think he's going to do great things there. I like the hire. I thought Dan Quinn was going to go to the Seahawks, but he ended up going to the Commanders. We're going to get into that. But let's just do an instant reaction, Justin. Mike McDonald to the Seahawks. What do you think? What would you give it for a grade?
A grade? Hmm. A potential grade for this hire. I like the hire too. It's hard to grade someone that hasn't been a coach before than it is because we know like
Yeah.
what they do, how they can lead a team. So this is the first time leading a whole team, but from what we've seen from defensively, from when he was a coordinator at Michigan, did good things there. And obviously, the Harbaugh connection led him to the NFL, where he worked with John Harbaugh. In the past couple of years, they had a good defense too. They played hard, they played fast, so they kind of and he has a lot of good pieces to work with too. As I'm sure you talked about too with that secondary, they were able to keep Carl Scott, that was supposed to go to Philadelphia, to the Eagles, but they retained him, so that's big for them and in the development of like Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon and those guys on the back end there. So his defense, Seattle's defense is going to still be really good. The question is, who are they going to bring in the offensive coordinator? I don't know if they made a move there yet. Who their offensive guy is going to be, but I don't know if there's a Chip Kelly rumor there. I saw some Chip Kelly rumor earlier today. I don't know if it was for Seattle, but we got to see what happens there, right? What they do there, they're going to still have Geno. I assume Geno's going to still be the starter. So the offense is their only question mark. As long as he's in charge of that defense, I think the defense is going to keep him in a lot of ball games. But yeah, I guess as of right now, just as we don't know Mike McDonald as a head football coach, but I like the Seattle organization. I like John Snyder, Pete Carroll still in the building. I give it a B plus. I think that's a respectable grade. I'm not going to give it an A tier because I haven't seen the guy be a head coach yet, but I do. It makes sense too. It's kind of weird that like a Frable or a Belichick didn't get consideration for, especially the Seahawks job. But they want to go someone younger, someone different. And I heard that Frable was putting teams off because he's an intimidating guy, but in stature.
Yeah, I saw
But
that. That's stupid.
it's kind of dumb because you just move past that and you gotta do what's best for your team at that point. But yeah, I like the hire for sure. And like you said, everyone just thought it was Dan Quinn because the connection there with the LOB Legion of Boom days. And I think we both said that makes sense the last time, but we ended up flip flopping that more on DQ to the Commanders. But yeah, I digress. I like it. B plus. See him coach. It's got the same head coach, but yeah, it's a good move. It's a good move.
Yeah,
Time will
I
tell,
would.
though.
If I were to give it a grade, I would also give it a B plus. I'm not going to give it in the A range because we don't know what he's going to do yet. He's a young guy and all that, and he hasn't had any head coaching experience, like you just said. But I like the hire because he's young, innovative, defensive minded coach, and he's had success as a coordinator with the Ravens, producing top defenses each year. So I like the move. I'll give it a B plus. Now we could segue into the next coach that got hired. We just mentioned it, Dan Quinn. He's going to be the head coach of the Washington Commanders. So, he has some
Mhm.
familiarity there with, being the Cowboys DC. So he kind of knows what Washington's all about. But, now they got new owners, and now he's going to be the guy in charge there. Let's see what
Right.
they're going to do for, franchise quarterback. That's coming up. So they're launching a new team. It's headed in the right direction. I hope so. You got the new owners. Dan Snyder's out. Dan Quinn's taken over. He also got Cliff Kingsbury as the OC, which is a good hire, I think. And if they get Caleb Williams, like
Mhm.
speculation of that right now, I think those two work together at USC. I think it would be a good little hire there because
Yes.
there's some familiarity there. But yeah, Dan Quinn, we've seen him as a head coach before. He's got his team to the Super Bowl before. He's had great defenses with the Cowboys and with the Seahawks. So I think he's well deserving of this job. Hopefully, he can, do a great job with the Commanders and, put them back on the map because they have had some crappy years these last few years, especially if you're a Commanders fan. Like, they have not been great. I think Dan Quinn can, turn this culture around and bring them in the right direction. I would give this hire an A minus. I give it an A minus. I like the hire a lot.
I do like the hire. I thought maybe with the ownership change, they would be more willing to like, hey, since we're kind of new to this, let's bring in a Belichick. Let's have him kind of help us in the front office there too. So I thought that there could have been a pathway for Belichick to get a job in for the Commanders, but that didn't happen. And Mike McDonald left, and then Ben Johnson pulled out of the head coaching race for him for his services. And yeah, they went with Dan Quinn after Mike McDonald. And yeah, I like the hire as well. When you talk about like Micah Parsons and Tony Pollard, like I was just listening to what he said not too long ago. Just saying, yeah, he's going to have success wherever he goes. Good leader. Um, People play for him. People respect him. He'll get respect in the locker room. So from that standpoint, that's a good hire. But like, yeah, it's going to be a project. It's going to be a rebuild, and he's not a bad person to guide him through, right? He was in the Super Bowl too. He had success with Atlanta. He wasn't a bad head coach there. Just didn't end the way they wanted to. When Kyle Shanahan left, it was when it kind of just started to crumble for him there. So Brandon Cliff Kingsbury, I'm going to lump that topic in there. I know you mentioned that as well. That's a pretty sneaky hire there, like you said. USC, the connection there, and they could trade up. They could trade up to number one to get him. And there's a pathway for the Bears to acquire like 2 first-round picks from this. They can move down to 2, right? They give them that first-round pick, the number 2 overall pick, and they give them next year's first round, right, to get number 1. And then another team can jump up and say, hey, we like Drake May or we like Jaden Daniels. Trade up there, and then then someone takes the number 2, and then they trade back even more. They get 2 future first round picks, and they could still possibly get a Brock Bowers, a Marvin Harrison Jr. or something like that, or
Yeah.
another player, a Joe Alt, somewhere to help in a position they need help with. So that's cool. I would like to bet money on that's their plan, is to get Caleb Williams in there. I think ownership will want a new quarterback, and that's someone Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn there. So yeah, I like the hire. I'm probably gonna give this also a B plus too. Um, I thought it was a good hire, but I feel like because they waited a little bit and Ben Johnson pulled out, they didn't get the guy they wanted, so they settled. So I'm not gonna give it an A just because of that, but not a bad get at all though.
Yeah.
I just think that it wasn't their top guy, and they messed up on the Belichick and Vrabel that might have been a better option. So I'm gonna give it a B plus.
I gave it an A minus, but that's okay. I didn't give it a B plus.
I
But
can't
yeah,
agree with you twice in one video.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, I like to hire Dan Quinn, well-respected guy, and all that. Yeah, if I were the Commanders, I would have went after Belichick. I would have went after Vrabel, but they didn't do so. I don't know why. They didn't even interview those guys, so that was really concerning, especially in that head coaching interview process. Like these guys, coaches of the year, they have some hardware. Vrabel doesn't, but like he's been part of Belichick. He's a Belichick disciple and all that. But I was really confused why they didn't interview those guys. But Dan Quinn, I think he will, turn around that program and, make them a winning culture. It's just getting the right guys in there and, hopefully getting the right GM to rebuild the roster. But yeah, all in all, I'll give it an A- because I think Dan Quinn is a really good coach in this league. And we talked about Cliff Kingsbury. So let's talk about my team now. Let's talk about my team, what they did. Yeah, I was really shocked. I didn't know who this guy was. Did my little research. So Giants, they hired a new defensive coordinator, Shane Bowen from the Tennessee Titans. He was on Vrabel's staff, and instant reaction to that. I think Shane Bowen, he was decent with the Titans. I don't know how much of it was really Vrabel calling the plays, and he was like Vrabel's puppet. But the Titans and Vrabel, when they were out there on the field, that defense was something to play for. Like I think they would have like a top 10, top 15 defense at least like every year. I think it's a good hire from what was left available because I know Denard Wilson, he left. He was a guy that I was targeting as a Giants fan. That's who I wanted to get. Um,
Same with
Wink,
me.
yeah. So Wink Martindale is still a free agent. That's crazy news. Who else did the Giants wanted to get? I think they wanted to get the Bills guy. It was like a linebackers coach. His name was Bobby something. He got promoted to be the DC for the Bills. And who else? There's some other guys, but none of them pan out because they all got other jobs elsewhere.
What about
Um,
Ron Rivera?
Ron Rivera, he was never interviewed. I did not want him because I don't like him. I don't think he's a great coach. I know he's had success in this league, but especially as a Giants fan, I don't like Commanders coaches or anything to do with the Commanders. So I didn't want that, but they didn't even interview him. But Shane Bowen, it's an interesting pickup to be the coach, the defensive coach for this team. He runs the same type of defense as Wink, but doesn't blitz as much. He runs a 3-4 package. So, and he likes to have that man coverage as well. And I think Deontay Banks and whoever else they bring in there, they'll probably, build the roster around Shane Bowen's, defensive play calling. So I like the hire there. He's had a great defensive units with the Titans. I don't know how much of it was actually him doing the play calling and all that. But, the Titans, they have a well-respected defense. So I'm all for it for, all the candidates that were available. I just hope, he can turn around the Giants defense and we can win some games this year, go back to the playoffs. I don't know. Depends what we do this offseason. But I like it because that was the best guy we could get available. I would give it a B for a grade. I give it a B because he was the best guy available. What about you? What would you give it?
I think the Giants are going to regret firing Wink Martindale after this move. I think they. I know that Brian Dable went and fired his linebackers coach, and then he proceeded to walk out afterwards. So that ended not the way you wanted to. But yeah, like you said, there's things to like, right? He was part of a Titans team that, like you said, had some good, they played hard. They had a pretty good defense when he was there. But you make up a good point, right? Was it how much of it was Frable and how much of it was his input? So that remains to be seen. We have to see him take over this team. But it's going to be a challenge for him. Why? Because those Titans team had playmakers, and this Giants team lacks in some playmakers. They do. Yes, I get they have Dexter Lawrence. He's a great defensive cornerstone. They got Deontay Banks up and coming. But they lack some experience. And they have Bobby Okereke. I give them that. But they have to get some help there on the defensive side too. So I think when he was there in Tennessee, they had better playmakers on that side of the ball. And there's just a lot of questions there. And I didn't think Wink Martindale was necessarily the problem in New York. It was more so the personnel they had. So if they don't improve the personnel, if Wink Martindale couldn't really succeed with them, who's had experience as DC, had pretty good defenses, then how's this guy gonna succeed first time calling the plays? So that remains to be seen. We got to see if the Giants upgrade the defense to help him out. If and they do have Giants do have some questions there, and Saquon coming back, but that's another topic for another day. But I guess to put a grade on it, I'm gonna give it a C, just because we don't know too much about him, and the fact that when he's in Tennessee, is he gonna be the Matt Patricia to a Bill Belichick? Is it gonna be a disaster like how I experienced this year? I don't know. That's gonna remain to be seen. But yeah, I mean, I guess from the candidates, he is the most intriguing option left for you guys. Although maybe Ron Rivera would have been better. I know you don't want Commanders, but he was a good DC though. He might not be a head coach material. He might just be a good coordinator. So maybe you look back on. We'll just see how it looks back. We look back on it in a few months' time when the season gets back and rolling again. But yeah, I gotta give it a C because I just don't know much about the guy. Is he a Matt Patricia kind of guy, or is he gonna be able to get the best out of his players?
Yeah, all good points. I agree with you. But from what they had available, that's why I gave it a B. From what they had available, other than Ron Rivera, like you said, that's a good point. But
Yeah, I get that, but what they had currently might have been better than what they have gotten.
yeah, well, supposedly they're bringing over the linebackers coach from the Titans. They're bringing over some of the staff members that were on the Titans' defensive side of the ball. So at least
Okay.
there's some familiarity there. So I like that they're bringing those guys over. And the Giants today, they announced also as well, I want to put that out there, that Mike Kafka, he's now the assistant head coach. And I think the reason why they did this is because the
Okay.
Seahawks, they wanted to interview Kafka to be their OC, and then the Giants blocked
Mm.
that interview from happening. So I think they gave him a little promotion, probably some extra, chump change in there for him. And now gave him a nice little title, assistant head coach. I think he can be, a head coach in this league. This year, the offense wasn't the greatest. And, there's a lot of reasons for that. But I think Mike Kafka, he's a decent coach in this league. He knows the Andy Reid offense. He's good with play calling when we have the personnel. I feel like this year our offense wasn't the greatest because, injuries, people being in and out of the lineup and all that. And then the quarterback position, like we had 3 different quarterbacks. They were all playing at all different times of the year. It's hard to call an offense like that. And it's hard to call an offense when you're missing your all-pro left tackle and Andrew Thomas. I think he should be a decent offensive coordinator this year if he has some guys healthy. You get some more playmakers. Is Saquon coming back? We don't know, but that's what the Giants announced today. I'm fine with it. I think he deserves a raise because it's preventing him from keeping the Seahawks getting him. And you don't want Daniel Jones to learn a whole new offense again and all that. So I get why they did that. What do you think about that, Mike?
Well, 2 points. The first point, you're stop lying because you complained about Mike Kafka all year.
I
And the
did.
second point
I did.
is because you said it was Brian Dable's offense all year long, you're saying he has to learn a new playbook. Well, if it's Brian Dable's offense, why does he have to learn a new system? It's his system, right?
Well, Mike Kafka's calling the plays, right? But like
Yeah,
some
but
of
you're
his
saying
plays are from the
you're
Kansas
saying
City
Brian Dable's plays.
playbook tree, huh?
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's what they're.
I'm just saying what you're saying because you're saying it's Brian Dable's plays and Mike Kafka's calling it.
It
He's doing a
should be
bad job of sequencing and calling those plays from what you're telling me off camera. So I'm
okay.
just doing my due diligence and calling you out because I don't think you're being truly honest to our fans
Okay.
here. You're just saying it's fine, but you were
It,
like, how is this guy the offensive coordinator? This guy stinks. So I'm just trying to get the truth out of you.
okay. But yeah,
Oh, he's pleading.
Kafka, huh?
You're pleading the fifth there. Okay.
Playing the fifth. But I think it's a mix of both. I feel like it's Dable's plays. I agree. It is Dable's plays, but it's also Kafka's plays, and it's a combination of both. And I think I wanted Dable to call the plays, but now that they promoted Kafka to assistant head coach,
That ain't happening.
I feel like Kafka's still going to call the plays now. So
For sure.
for sure. So if Kafka wants to, retain his job and be a head coach in this league, I'm saying he's going to have to find better play calling throughout the season. He has to do that, of course. And the Giants, Joe Shane company, need to get better personnel to actually run the offense they want to run. They weren't able to do that this year. That's why the offense wasn't successful. You got to get Jones more playmakers. You got to protect him and all that. But Kafka and Dable, I think they like each other. And, they like each other more than Dable liked Wink. So there is a relationship there. So you want to promote him to assistant head coach if you didn't like him. So I'm respecting the decision that they did. I'm not saying it's a great decision that he's an assistant head coach because of the season that they had last year. But I think overall it's what they had to do to keep him in the organization. They had to promote him because there was a chance he was going to go to the Seahawks if they didn't do this. That's what I'm trying to say.
Now, did they just promote him in title, or does he get a pay raise?
I believe he gets a pay raise. They don't announce that. That's what Aaron Rappaport was saying, that he's probably going to get a pay raise because of the title. That's usually what comes along with it. But because they didn't want him to go to Seattle, and the way of retaining him, you give him a new position as an assistant head coach. Yeah, I'm just hoping the offense is better this year, and we're seeing more success like we did in his first year with Dable and company. We just players got to stay healthy. They got to get playmakers in there, and they got to protect the quarterback. That's the only way the offense will be successful. And it's hard to do that when players are in and out of the lineup and your quarterback is not there. So
I think the problem is because of the question marks with Daniel Jones. Is like how many playmakers are going to say I want to play in New York unless you throw a massive bag at them to come.
yeah,
Like,
like
that's
Penny.
my problem. I don't think the season you guys had last year, the Daniel Jones thing, it's trending more and more like you're going to cut him after this year. In my opinion, I think you are going to move on from him. So I don't know. I don't know how much Joe Shane's going to be able to do in free agency. It's going to have to more come from the draft. Are you going to draft like a Malik Neighbors? Are you going to trade up, maybe draft a Marvin Harrison Jr.? Or are you going to take your successor of the future? If you guys draft quarterback in the first couple rounds, that indicates they're moving off of Jones this year. It's going to be a learn it year. They're going to take it the Chiefs playbook, like with Alex Smith and Mahomes. Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith one year, then he took over. You could have a situation like that too. That could happen because you can cut him after this year, and it wouldn't be too much of a hit to your cap. So that's all. There's a lot of question marks there. So I don't think you're going to get the big name free agents unless you throw massive money for like a Christian Kirk type of player to come there. So it's going to have to be more so in the draft if you're going to get your playmakers. So I don't know what they're thinking. Are they going to? Is Jones? Do they think Jones is their franchise guy? I don't think he is. I think you got to move on from him. If I were Joe Shane, I would maybe target someone in the draft this year. I would probably do that. Get the guy you like, but remains to be seen. So a lot of question marks, to say the least, for your New York Giants.
Yeah, there is a report that they want to keep Jones. They view him as the franchise quarterback. That was one of the recent reports this week. And they're not going to draft the franchise guy. And there's reports that they're going to get a veteran. They're going to get a guy maybe like bring in a Jacoby Brissett to hold down the fort, or a Gardner Minshew until Jones comes back. That's the report this week. But that could be a fake report out there. So we don't know
It could
yet.
be a smoke screen.
It could be a smoke screen for sure. But yeah, Daniel Jones, this is his make or break year. If he wants to be the franchise guy, he has to earn it, and he has to play to that standard he's getting paid. And I know he's not getting paid. He's not even getting paid as a top 10 quarterback right now. He's like top 15 paid quarterback at $40 million. That's just what the market's at. But yeah, this is his make or break year. Joe Shane constructed that deal perfectly. It's a 2-year deal, and he can get out after the first 2 years of that 4-year contract and not take a cap hit. So it was smartly constructed by Joe Shane. But all in all, I don't know. It's up to Jones and company if he wants to be the quarterback of the future. But that is a question that we will find out later down the line. Um, let's keep it in the NFC East now, right? Let's talk about the Cowboys. So since they just lost Dan Quinn, they're searching for a new defensive coordinator. There's some reports of some veteran coaches out there that might take the job. So supposedly Ron Rivera, former head coach of the Washington Commanders, might be the DC of the Commanders. Who knows? He interviewed with them, and then they also interviewed ESPN analyst Rex Ryan, former head coach of the Jets, former head coach of the Bills. So, what should the Cowboys do? Do you like who they're interviewing, or should they get a nice young-minded defensive guy, someone like on the lines of Mike McDonald, like a younger guy, or should they go the veteran route and get an experienced guy? What do you think?
Well, because if you have Super Bowl aspirations, you have to get a guy that's a veteran that knows how to run the defense, knows how to call a defense right away. Because you only have such a window with Dak, and Mike McCarthy's on a prove it kind of year. If he doesn't make it to at least the NFC Championship game, he's canned for sure. So you have to hire a veteran guy. If I had to predict who they're going to hire, I think they're going to hire Ron Rivera. I really, really do. I do think there's respect between him and Mike McCarthy, and he has had success in this league too. And he knows a little bit about scheming and game planning for our quarterbacks, right? That they're going to play four times between our two teams. So he had to construct game plans there. So he knows the division really well. He obviously knows Washington well. So that makes sense, right, from an in division perspective. But I think the smart hire, just because I remember watching him break it down on ESPN. I think Rex Ryan would be a really, really interesting hire, and I think that should be the hire they make, just because of the philosophies that his dad, Buddy Ryan, taught. He's going to bring that. He's going to blitz, and the way he was talking about how Dan Quinn kind of messed up against the Packers and how the defense. Like they were in a lot of dime personnel, a lot of defensive backs out there. It's like you can't do that when they're gashing you on the run. Just a guy that knows football. Seems like he wants to get back in it and coach for the right team, for the right opportunity. And yeah, it seems like it could be with the Cowboys there. I don't think that's what they're going to do. If I had to predict, I would say it's going to be Ron Rivera. But I would be most intrigued with Rex Ryan. And as an Eagles fan, if they got him, I'll be like, oh, okay, they got my attention now for sure for that hire.
Yeah, I agree with you. It would be cool to see Rex Ryan back in the NFL. I would hate it as a Giants fan because like he would just ruin, that rivalry because we would just get smoked by the Cowboys. Because right now we're not there roster wise. I don't think we're even close to competing with the Cowboys yet. But yeah, if I had to predict like you did, I would say Ron Rivera is probably going to be the hire there. It's a safe hire and he has experience being a head coach in this league. And Mike McCarthy might get fired midway through the season. He could promote Ron Rivera. So there's another incentive if you hire Ron Rivera. But I think he is gonna be the DC because other than that, I don't know who else they're gonna hire. It'd probably be Rex Ryan. That's the only one I would see that is available that they would like. I don't think they're going to get a young-minded guy because that's just not the Cowboys' philosophy at this moment in time. Maybe they'll change things up after the season, but at this moment in time, Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, and company, they're probably going to get a veteran guy that is established and knows how to run a defense and has all this experience. So they're probably going to get Ron Rivera. I would hate the hire of Rex Ryan for me and for you, as you just said, being Eagles and Giants fans. But yeah, who knows? But yeah, this is the Cowboys' final year if Mike McCarthy if they don't go on a playoff run, if they don't at least be in the Super Bowl. Like I think it's his final year because he's had plenty of time. They've been 12-5 for the past like 3 or 4 years now. So you have to make something happen. You got to make a splash in the playoffs, and they have not been able to do that. So they got to nail this hire, and it's probably going to be either Ron Rivera or Rex Ryan. We will see. But all in all, hopefully they get the right guy, but I don't want them to, personally. Now, Let's talk about your favorite coach of all time. Your favorite coach of all
He
time.
is
He is
he is
now
my favorite
retired.
coach.
The coach we're talking about is Nick Saban. So Nick Saban's enjoying the retirement life, but he's still going to be working though, just not as much as he once did. Running that Alabama organization and program there in Alabama. He's taking his talents to ESPN. He's going to be working for College Game Day. He's also going to be working for the NFL draft and all that, like being an analyst and all that, talking about all the prospects. I like it. I like seeing, guys that we grew up with, coaches and all that, being on the media side of things. It's smart. They know about the game of football. They love it. They love to talk about it. It's a nice little paycheck at the end of the day. But yeah, Nick Saban, he's going to go to College Game Day. So what's your instant reaction to that? I know you probably like it because you love Nick Saban.
Yeah, before I get to my boy Nick Saban, to finish up our Dallas conversation, they have just put in requests to interview Jets coach Marquand Manuel for their DC position. So, a little tidbit there. It seems like a guy not with so much experience that they're putting a flyer on to bring in for the interview. So, just wanted to keep it. That just recently got posted. I wanted to keep everyone up to date with that.
Can you say
Any,
one more time?
it's like Marquand Manuel.
Spell that for me.
Marquand. Marquand
Marquand.
Manuel. Yeah, he's a Jets defensive coach. He's
Okay.
interviewing for the Dallas defensive coordinator position.
Safeties coach.
Just wanted because we're on that topic, and I happened to take a glance at my phone. I saw that, so wanted to throw that out there if you had a comment because I don't really know the guy, but
I don't know the
interesting
guy.
there. So
It's a
if you have
Robert
any
Saleh
comments there,
disciple,
please
I
chime in.
guess. But yeah, that's interesting. But I guess they're just doing their research and all that. But I still don't think they hire that guy. I don't. But who knows? Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
I think they
I
still go
agree.
Ron Rivera. But
I
yeah,
I agree with the veteran guy.
yeah, veteran guy. You got to get the veteran guy for sure. Um,
Yeah,
but back to
yeah.
Nick
So
Saban.
Nick Saban, the GOAT, the greatest coach of all time for football. Yeah. So I love the move. It's gonna expound the knowledge on me about the game, and I'm gonna fall more and more in love with him each time I watch him talking about football. Right? He's joining College Game Day, Steve. Right? But I tell you what, when we're doing our NFL draft coverage, I'm tuning into him. He's going to be in the NFL draft. He's going to be covering that. He's going to be telling us about the best players coming out. He's going to say, man, that was a crappy pick from the Giants, man. I don't get why they picked him. This guy stinks. And then when the Eagles pick, it's like, wow, what a sneaky pick. I didn't think the Eagles would pick him there. So we'll see. We'll see about that. I think he's going to do great there. And it's going to also be in the SEC media days. The best conference in college football, the SEC. He's still going to be involved there. I'm sure he's going to still have ties to Alabama. I believe he still has an office at the stadium too. He's going to probably help Kalen DeBoer, the new Alabama head coach there as well. So yeah, a lot to like with Alabama. A lot to for. We're back. A lot to like about this move for Saban. I'm happy for him. He earned it. One of the greatest coaches of all time, in my opinion, the greatest college football head coach of all time. Going to be great to see him every Saturday morning. I hope to get to see him one time at game day as a fan. That would be really cool. So yeah, and I can't wait. I'm definitely going to be tuning into the NFL draft. So that's going to be awesome. The draft
Yeah,
with Nick Saban is going to be
maybe
amazing.
maybe Bill Belichick will become an also analysis for TV as well. Maybe for ESPN. Maybe for Fox. I'm thinking Belichick goes to Fox because of the Brady connection and Gronk's already over there. Edelman's already over there. All the Patriots, all the former Patriots are over there on Fox. So I think Belichick
Mm-hmm.
is going to take a year off and he's going to join the Fox family. That's what I think is going to happen. Early prediction for the media side of things for sports, but I don't know. It's sad to see Saban not being on the sideline anymore. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
gonna be fun seeing him still
he
in our
he's earned it.
lives for college game day and NFL draft coverage as well. So cool little stuff
He's
there.
earned
But
it.
I think that's gonna wrap up this podcast, this episode of the Benchwire Podcast. If you guys did enjoy, drop a like, subscribe, do the good stuff you guys always do. Check out our socials. We're gonna be more active on there. You know what our job is, Justin? From Thursday on, we're gonna post a reel a day for Super Bowl week. A reel a day. It's gonna
I
happen.
like it.
Expect that. A reel a day, a TikTok a day. It's gonna be on all the platforms. YouTube Shorts, it's gonna be on there as well. So go follow our socials. Link tree down below. We got Instagram, TikTok. We got X, not Twitter, X. We got Facebook for all our lovely old people because we love you so much.
What?
What else we got? We got Spotify. Yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can also listen to us on Spotify on the go, Apple Podcasts as well, and think that covers all the social media platforms we're on. But if you guys did enjoy today, leave a like, subscribe, comment. We love to hear from you guys, and we'll catch you guys later. Benchwire.
Out.